Visiting somewhere called the Death Railway might not sound like the most fun trip to take, or the most romantic, but the stories that come from this iconic train journey, which travels through some magnificent countryside in Thailand, are so fascinating and inspiring. By 1943, the Death Railway travelled 415 kilometres through Western Thailand and southern Myanmar, and was an essential part of the supply line for the Japanese Imperial Army's war efforts in World War II. 60,000 prisoners of war from Australia, New Zealand, the UK and Canada, and over 200,000 Asian civilians were forced to build this line, and the conditions were horrendous. More than 13,000 soldiers and up to 80,000 civilians lost their lives toiling here. But a 120-kilometre stretch of track still operates, and what remains is rich in history. Here are 7 points along the Burma Railway that are well worth visiting to learn about this incredible epoch that had far-reaching impacts in Thailand and the world at large. Historically, Thonburi Station is the start of the Burma-Siam Railway that went from Bangkok all the way up to WWII in Myanmar, some 415 kilometres north. The station was bombed by the Allies in World War II and rebuilt in the 1950s. This station is still considered the 0-kilometre mark for the Bangkok train system, even though it isn't really connected to the city's network anymore. But you can still catch trains from here, and importantly, this is where trains leave to join the Death Railway proper, leaving twice a day to travel up through Kanchanaburi to within 20 kilometres of the Myanmar border. About 70 km west of Bangkok's Thonburi Station, Bang Pong is the first stop on the Nam Tok line, the track on the original supply line of the Burma Railway. Although we didn't join the train trip here, we did stop for lunch. Highly recommended is the Rain Tree Cafe, 10 minutes up the road from the station and on the banks of the Mekong River. The food here is good, but the coffee is what these guys really excel at, blending and roasting their own beans. And if you want to try a local specialty, order the coffee orange. Half cold brew coffee and half chilled fresh orange juice. It doesn't sound great, but it's surprisingly tasty and very refreshing on a hot day. The Mekong River winds through southern Kanchanaburi to join the famous River Kwai and its bridge, and then south to the sea. Although the book and its film that made this place famous are works of fiction, the bridge over the River Kwai was an important part of the Death Railway. You get a solemn thrill seeing the bridge for the first time. The curved arches on either bank are the originals from World War II, but the middle square sections are replacements where the Allied forces bombed it in 1945. You can walk across the bridge along the train tracks, which is quite a strange sensation, especially as trains do still travel over the bridge on the Kanchanaburi Line. It's hard to imagine, with all the hotels, restaurants, shops and market stalls lining the river, that this was once a place of torment, struggle and death. A little way upstream from the bridge is Don Rak, the biggest Allied war cemetery in Thailand. Here, 6,858 war graves mark the final resting place of Australian, New Zealand, British and Dutch soldiers lost in the construction of the Burma-Siam Railway between May 1942 and August 1943. Down the road is the Thailand Burma Railway Centre, an excellent museum that shows what the conditions were like, the purpose of the railway, and many other details that you won't find anywhere else. For us, the most significant site of the Burma-Siam Railway is Hellfire Pass. This place brings into sharp focus the horrors and insurmountable tasks the POWs had to endure. Hellfire Pass, or Kwai Noi Cutting, is the deepest and longest section of excavation along the railway. Men hacked and chipped their way through solid rock on no sleep, no food, no water, and the threat of pain and death always hanging over them. The cutting runs 25 metres deep and 75 metres long and is wide enough for a train to fit through. You feel the walls of the cutting towering over you as you walk where the train once ran. At the end of the cutting is the cenotaph of the War Memorial, and where one of the most poignant Anzac Day dawn services happen every year on the 25th of April. While you're here at Kwai Noi Cutting, make sure you visit the Hellfire Pass Interpretive Centre and Memorial Walkway. This museum has some fascinating and haunting exhibits, which start with sounds of steel hammers on stone and a narrow corridor representing the cutting. On the walls are the names of the men who worked on the railway. They cover both walls, floor to ceiling. There are plenty of places to stay around the area, including in Kanchanaburi town itself. We stayed close to Hellfire Pass at the Hintok River Camp. Once a labour camp for British POWs working in nearby compressor cutting, this site is now a glamping resort. There are plenty of nods to the camp's history, including a replica guard tower at the entrance, but of course the site's previous occupants would barely recognise this place now. The tents are extremely comfortable with full bathroom, king-size bed and even aircon. Breakfast and dinner are served here at the camp. There's a little cafe, a pool, a deck out on the river, and you can even grab a massage at the on-site spa. A long way indeed from the conditions of the 1940s. Also at the Hintok River Camp, you'll find a neat little museum dedicated to this area. It tells the story of 300 British prisoners of war who were kept here to work on the compressor cutting, an excavation that the POWs were forced to access down a near vertical 250-foot climb. Of the 300 prisoners, 79 never returned home. In 1998, the owner of the land dug out a recess used as a refuse pit and discovered hundreds of POW artefacts from that time. Many of them are on display here in the museum, which is on the site of the former camp kitchen. But as the owner dug deeper, he began to find objects that were older, far older than from World War II. Polished Neolithic tools and pottery between 4,000 and 6,000 years old started to appear. And the further down the dig went, so the more primitive the unearthed tools became. Some of the oldest Stone Age items may have even been as old as 10,000 years. This is the last stop on the Burma-Siam Railway. From here you can board one of the carriages of a heritage train and travel the original tracks of the Death Railway, travelling back towards Bangkok. It's a strange, conflicting feeling riding this line. On one hand, you're appalled at the brutality that occurred here. On the other, the views from the train windows are at times so beautiful, it's easy to forget the real reason you're on this journey. The curve of the track shows the train's flank and the precarious timber trestles as it leans against the edges of cliffs and crosses deep ravines. Occasionally the river comes into view, following the train and running fast through fields and amongst little villages that roll on by. Although it's not really part of the Death Railway at all, we thought the Erawan Waterfall Complex should also go in here. It's about an hour's drive from Kanchanaburi town and the same from Hintok River Camp, but it's one of the most beautiful sets of waterfalls you'll find in Thailand. 7 separate waterfalls cascade over limestone rocks, giving the water perfect clarity and a heavenly blue tint. You can swim in the pools of the first 4 falls, though you must be wearing a life jacket at all times when you're in the water. Lifeguards with loud whistles police the falls, and they will fine you if you don't keep your jacket on. But all this, including the hot uphill hike to each waterfall, is very much worth it. The Death Railway is an iconic train ride in a place that brings deep reflection and shows you another facet to the fascinating culture of Thailand.